Thank you all for joining us on a Wednesday morning. I hope that this overcast is treating all of you kindly. Okay, so for everyone joining us, in a few moments, you'll see the world interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to listen in English, click English. And if you'd like to listen in Spanish, you can click on Spanish. If you don't make a selection, you may miss the part, you may miss part of the conversation this morning. And if you do want to listen with interpretation audio only, instead of hearing it in a lower volume with your chosen language, select the option to mute the original audio from the interpretation menu. Interpreters, let us know when you're good to go. There's a lot of information, but there's also screen prompts. Interpreters, if you could give me like a verbal, you're ready, or thumbs up whenever you're ready. Good. Awesome. Lindsay, I cannot hear them. Oh, weird. But Nicole could.
Charlie, I think you have to choose the English channel. I don't know if you have done that.
Oh, I don't think that I've been
I think that might be
prompted.
confusing. So everyone who's doing it in English will need to select English.
Yeah, you need it.
Got it, got it.
Great.
And I messed it up. So if you also messed it up, it's okay. But we fixed it now. I got it. Okay, so awesome. Interpreters are ready. You'll notice that the slides are both in Spanish and in English. So Spanish speakers can follow along while receiving simultaneous interpretation. We want to remind folks to speak slowly and clearly when speaking, so interpreters can easily provide interpretation. If any of our Spanish speakers are dealing with interpretation issues, please reach out to Biana, our bilingual staff person. Please wave your hand so folks know who they can reach out to. And
Yes.
we've got, oh, yes.
Yes, Charlie, I just wanted to make sure also in Spanish that people knew si puede seleccionar su canal de español, si habla español, puede seleccionar abajo de su pantalla. Nomás quería dar esa información, pero yo creo que todo está bien y todos están en el correcto canal. Okay, just wanted to share that in Spanish as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Oops. All right. Okay, we're ready. Hi, everybody. My name is Charlie Voss. My pronouns are they, them. I am the Data Quality Assurance Specialist at CEPA, which is a housing organization, and I'm also the chair here at HSSN. I'll be your facilitator today with the support of other wonderful community members and staff. Welcome to a special HSSN meeting today, where we have invited community partners to take part in a listening session today, hosted by the Department of Housing Services, the Housing Advisory Committee, and the Homeless Solutions Advisory Council. This is the first time Washington County Housing has hosted a listening session, and we hope to learn from you on how we can continue improving and making this event better and accessible to you all. This meeting will be recorded and will be available on the Washington County HSSN website. We will not be recorded when we are assigned to breakout rooms. If you wish to not be recorded, please feel free to sign off and check out the recording at a later time. Next slide, please. All right, we'd like to take some time to remind everybody to please use the chat function to share comments or questions. We only have 2 hours with one another, so we highly encourage you to stay engaged within the chat in our breakout rooms. We also encourage you to click on the reactions button to share and react to thoughts, comments shared, and also to raise your hand. Please remember to stay muted while folks are presenting, and whether you keep your camera on or off is up to you, but we do encourage participation regardless. If you can take some time to update your profile to have your first name and your last name and which organization or provider you are with. We have a designated staff person, Valentina, who will be monitoring our chat for Q&A. So just go ahead and update that. We're just asking for your name and organization or provider that you're with. Looks like everybody's working on it. All right, I think we can go to the next slide. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to quickly just review the agenda for today. So welcome again for being here. Let's take some time to have folks to introduce themselves in the chat. Please share your name, pronouns, and role or organization you are with. Announcements. If partners would like to provide public comment outside of the space, we are adding a link to the chat where you can share further comment. Also, instead of sharing announcements verbally, we are asking partners if they have any announcements they would like to share, that they say share them in the chat. So please do that now if you do. But most importantly, share your name, pronouns, and role organization. Next on the agenda, we'll have Molly Rogers, Executive Director of Washington County, provide a welcome statement. Afterwards, chairs of the Housing Advisory Committee and Homeless Solutions Advisory Council will introduce these groups and will also give us a high-level presentation of the Department of Housing Services strategic framework. We'll take a 5-minute break. When we come back, we'll divide into breakout rooms for more in-depth discussion regarding our priorities. After the breakout rooms, we will have folks report back to the main room and share takeaways from our conversations. Then we'll wrap up, share some next steps, and have presenters introduce themselves in alphabetical order. So that is the agenda for today. Good. Looks like everybody's putting that stuff in the chat. Awesome. Okay. I think we can go to the next slide, which is group agreements. Okay. We're just going to review some group agreements for our time together. We understand conversations about housing and homelessness can be personal and bring up many emotions. So we want to create a space where we're addressing these topics with respect and openness. So we just ask that you please listen respectfully, allow others to finalize their statements. Everyone is encouraged to participate, be patient, keep an open mind, keep a positive attitude, please refrain from personal attacks. And then Vianeth, I don't know if you want to read the Spanish translation for it or if the interpreters will be doing that.
Yeah, just to clarify, there's simultaneous interpretation. So whatever you're saying in English, they're being told in Spanish in that channel. So
Okay.
no need
So
to, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, after the group agreements, would love to introduce the staff and
Great.
volunteers. So when you're ready, you can do that.
Okay, great. Yeah, please know if you express threatening or harmful language, we may remove you from the space. And yeah, next we'll welcome Molly Rogers, Executive Director of Washington County Housing Authority, to share a few words. We can hit to the next slide. Molly, whenever you're ready.
Ready for me? All right. Welcome, everyone. So nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces joining us today. My name is Molly Rogers, and I use she, her pronouns. And as the director of the Washington County Department of Housing Services, I'm thrilled to welcome you to our first ever listening session. I'd like to start off with a few appreciations. First, I'd like to give a big shout out to all the staff who've worked tirelessly over the last actually several months to get this up and running. And so if you are here as staff, can you use the raise hand button so everyone can see you? Just a quick or a shout out or something. That's so great. Wow. What a team effort. It's always difficult to start something new, but it's important that we learn as we go, especially when it comes to community engagement. Staff have been thoughtfully planning this session with you all for months, and I want to thank your dedication for bringing it together. Second, I want a huge thank you to all our valued community partners that are participating with us today. I think I speak on behalf of the entire department when I say we truly appreciate all the work you do in our community with providing housing support and homeless services to our county's residents. I also want to recognize and thank our two committees hosting this with our staff. The first is Washington County's Housing Advisory Committee and the Homeless Solutions Advisory Council. I'd love to see a show of hands for those of you who are serving on one of those committees. Great. The Housing Advisory Committee that focuses on our rent assistance work, affordable housing, and programs and services for the county's low and moderate income residents. And our newly formed Homeless Solutions Council, they provide oversight and feedback on our homeless system of care here in Washington County and making sure that we're encouraging collaborative partnerships across a wide array of service systems. So thank you to all the members of those committees for both your advisement throughout the year and for showing up here today and listening with everyone. So why are we all gathered on this Zoom call? Well, we can't do this work alone. We need you. And we rely on our public and private partnerships. We make up the whole social safety net, providing critical support at some crucial moments of vulnerability in our community. Today is our first of 2 listening sessions where we hope you learn more from your perspective on community need and how we need to approach our priorities. So your input here today is absolutely crucial for both our organization and the people we serve. So today we would like to talk with you about our strategic framework and priorities, what matters most to you, and then what comes next. So today's conversations, they will inform our budget priorities, and they could refine our systems moving forward, including actually really focusing some of our legislative advocacy we need to do for 2025 and 2026 legislative sessions. So after this session, we are planning to generate a report to share with you all, our advisory bodies, and the broader community. And this is meant to guide us in our work planning and decision making. And we're also hoping this is just the first of continued listening sessions and that we'll have a chance to come back together again next year. So I look forward to an enlightening and informative time with you all here. And thank you again for joining us today. Back to you, Charlie.
Awesome. Thank you, Molly, for welcoming and setting a good intention for the space. Now I'd like to introduce the Homeless Solutions Council and the Housing Advisory Committee chairs to share about their work. Housing Advisory Committee, let's start with you.
Before we do that, Charlie, is it okay that staff and presenters introduce themselves just so they know who is
Yeah.
supporting the space today?
Go for
Great.
it.
Yeah. So I'll just pass it down. I'm Biena Valdez. I use she, they pronouns, hablo español, and I am the community engagement coordinator with Housing Services, supporting the Housing Advisory Committee, which does amazing work. Excited to be here. And I'll pass it over to Chelsea.
Hello, my name is Chelsea, she, her pronouns. I work as a program coordinator with Washington County, and I'll be helping out in the breakout rooms today.
Do we want to
Can
go,
go.
Drew? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm like going in alphabetical order.
Good
I am
morning,
not-
Drew
okay.
Williamson. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the Senior Director of Shelter and Housing for Boys and Girls Aid. I'm also a member of the Solutions Council. So excited to be here. Nadia.
Sorry. Nadia Mohammed. I am also a community engagement coordinator, specifically with the advisory bodies for the Homeless Services Division of the Department of Housing in Washington County.
Good morning, everyone. Lindsay Dent, she, her pronouns, and I am a training specialist with Washington County Homeless Services, and I am here to support some of our breakout room actions today. And I will pass it to Nicole.
Hi, folks. My name is Nicole Sting. I use she, her pronouns. I am here today as a floater in the breakout rooms. If you need a helping hand, phone me in. I will pass it over to Kim Marshall.
Good morning, everyone. Kim Marshall, Executive Director at Project Homes Connect. I'm also the Solutions Council Chair for this meeting, and I will pass it over to Emily Roots.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Roots. I use she, her pronouns. I work for Washington County as a housing communications coordinator, and I will be taking notes today. And let's see, I'm not exactly sure who I should popcorn it to next. Nadia, have you gone?
Yeah, maybe Valentina.
Hey everyone, good morning. Valentina Barrett, she, her pronouns, and I'm helping support the chat. If you have any questions, please DM me or put it in the chat. And if we have any other remaining members, we'll pass it. If not, we'll send it back to Biena. Thank you. Or Charlie.
Hello, I'm sorry, I'm in transit. This is Dina Feldes, Executive Director of Transcending Hope Recovery Homes, and I sit in the social service seat for the Housing Advisory Committee.
Great. I think that was it, unless I'm missing anyone. Speak up now before we head it over to Nikki or Melinda. Do you want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Good morning. My name is Melinda Bell. I am chair on the HAC, vice chair, and I currently work for New Narrative as a housing navigator. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nikki Messer. I go by she, her pronouns. I am a senior administrative specialist for the Rental Assistance Division and the Policy and Planning Division, and I'm here to support whatever angle needs support and take some notes. I'd like to pass it over to our fine person behind the scenes, Meredith, please.
I was gonna dodge that. Okay. Hi, I'm Meredith Cook. She, her pronouns. I'm administrative assistant. I support the HSSN team meetings and monthly meetings and the Solution Council meetings.
Great. I think that's all of us. Back to you, Charlie.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, now let's go to the Homeless Solutions Council and the Housing Advisory Committee chairs to share about their work. Housing Advisory Committee, we can start with you and then go to the Solutions Council whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Melinda Bell, and I'm with the HAC committee. Our mission is to advise the Housing Authority Board of Directors on policy matters, identify housing issues, recommend programs, services for low income to moderate income Washington County residents. We meet the fourth Thursday of every month. We have 15 members. We also have 2 open positions right now. The representation is by finance, elderly, social services, real estate, development, property management, veterans, planning design, and architecture. And now we'll pass it to Kim.
If that's me, then we'll go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Kim Marshall. I am the chair of the Homeless Solutions Advisory Council. The Solutions Council, as it's come to be known, is a newer initiative at Washington County, and it brings together the work previously led by the Homeless Plan Advisory Committee and the Continuum of Care Board into one integrated community advisory structure. We began our work in January. We provide oversight to Washington County's homeless services continuum of care and are made up of experts representing service partners, the healthcare system, education system, behavioral health system, and more. As members of the Solutions Council, we provide oversight to Washington County on its homeless services system, encourage partnerships across homeless service systems, and ensure that the broadest range of voices from the community have access to the county's planning processes as well as implementation of programs or program changes. The Solutions Council includes a structure of technical subcommittees and strategic work groups, including a new lived experience advisory body. Our work continues to also include our partners here at HSSN, Housing and Supportive Services Network. What I'm most excited about this work is my council members that I get to work with, many who are here today, and then just being a voice for all of the support service providers in our continuum. Our meetings are open to the public, and we'll be recruiting additional members later this year. I encourage you to visit our website and learn more about our work or attend a council or subcommittee meeting. We would love to have you. Next slide, please. So we are going to take a pause and learn from you. We will put the link in the chat, but also feel free to share your comments in the chat. Valentina will put the links and questions in the chat. Let's take a pause so we can let you have an opportunity to share with us. So the question that we're asking today is, how can we better inform and engage the public about our work? And you can choose from one or more, but some of the areas are increase social media presence and engagement, host annual listening sessions, develop interactive and informative workshops or webinars, implement a user-friendly website with regular updates and resources, or other ideas that you might have regarding engagement and sharing our work. So we're going to take that pause to answer.
Can I also mention that folks can add their thoughts in the chat if they're not tech savvy enough to figure out the poll, but if you want to add your question or your thoughts in the chat, that would be great.
Hey, you guys. Hey, BNF, are there any responses we would like to share?
Still waiting on responses.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. They're coming in. Great. I'm gonna actually, I wonder if there's a way that I can share my screen. I think there is. Great. I will show those responses.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't read in Spanish.
Great. Okay, it seems folks, yes, I'm not surprised about some of this, especially the major one. User-friendly website with regular updates and resources. Yes, we are actually working on this in the moment. So this is very timely. Appreciate folks wanting maybe a little bit more around workshops or webinars, just as like informational. Yeah, great feedback. And then as far as other ideas, engage through local associations. Love that. Open houses for the community, recognizing achievements. Wow, that's great. Engage with local radio and television news stations to share local success stories and interviews. In-person public events, tabling. Yes, we love tabling. The community engagement team loves tabling. So if you want us at your event, let us know. More media outlets, engagement with interested community organizations with descriptions of real life experiences that are affected. Love that. This is great. Yep, old school outreach. I appreciate that. Public awareness, networking with community partners. This is amazing. This is really helpful. More stories of the people, having a more community present amongst clients, participants, better communication, recognition. Love it. Reach out to local McKinney-Vento liaisons. Yes, this is great. Great. Appreciate all the feedback on this. This is really great. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but
Awesome. Okay, thank you, everyone. And you can continue sending those in via multiple channels, but your input is really important to the work being done. So we really appreciate you taking that time. Next, there we go, perfect. Now we will share more about the strategic framework that is guiding the work of the Department of Housing Services. Next slide, please. Over the last 9 months, staff from Housing Services has been working internally and with advisory committees to create what we're calling a strategic framework, a set of statements to guide the way the department serves the community. The Department of Housing Services has gone through significant growth and many changes in the last few years, and leadership felt it was important to have some defining frames and values, missions, equity, and more. Development of this framework included a lot of work with all staff, including frontline staff, supervisors, and the management team. Staff also brought conversations to the advisory board for input around priorities and themes. I'm happy to share these with you now as the Department of Housing Services publicly adopted the framework. First, the mission and vision, which are often the key elements of an agency. These are the statements about what the department does and what the department is aiming to achieve. So the vision is, we envision a Washington County where everyone has an affordable home with the supports and opportunities they need to thrive. And the mission, we create pathways out of homelessness, promote housing stability, and invest in affordable communities for Washington County and our residents. Next slide, please. The next portion of the strategic framework is the values held by the Department of Housing Services. The values speak to how the department does the work. And so you can see the different blocks above. We have equity. We center racial equity and promote equitable access for all to an array of housing opportunities. Responsiveness. We are committed to meeting the diverse needs of the community we serve and adapting in response to changing conditions. Collaboration. We work in partnership with the people we serve, other public agencies, nonprofit organizations, private businesses, and our neighbors. Accountability. We believe in transparency and being good stewards of public resources. And sustained impact. We take the long view through a commitment to deliberate, strategic, and holistically sustainable approaches. Next, I'll pass it on to my Vice Chair, Drew, of the Solutions Council, to share the equity statement and strategic priorities.
Thanks, Kim. The department's equity statement was crafted by the Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Council, a work group made up of staff from across the department. The team came together and discussed what was important to them in an equity statement, such as acknowledging the systematic issues that residents face and including an action statement about how the department will continue to focus on equity. The full statement reads, "To achieve our vision of a community where everyone has an affordable home with the supports and opportunities they need to thrive, we must work to advance racial equity. Communities of color have been systematically excluded from opportunities to own property, achieve financial security, and create generational wealth through centuries of racist and unjust policies and practices. Washington County residents also face barriers to housing because of other characteristics such as immigration status, disability, and age. Eliminating these disparities requires that we address barriers that create inequities in housing opportunity while prioritizing services to populations disproportionately impacted by these disparities. We will deploy intentional strategies to advance racial equity while working to increase access to housing opportunities for all who face barriers to housing in our community." Next slide, please. Okay. Lastly, the strategic framework includes priorities defined that focus to achieve the stated mission. The Department of Housing Services has identified 6 strategic priorities that guide their work. They are expanding housing opportunities, which includes expanding access to housing options that meet the community's affordability needs through housing development, rental assistance, and home ownership. Support housing stability by providing connections to resources and services that help people achieve stability in their housing and create pathways to greater opportunity. You can tell what population I work with. I just subconsciously throw young people in there. Prevent and address homelessness by providing a continuum of housing and supportive services to make homelessness a rare, brief, and non-reoccurring experience. Promote systems change by pursuing opportunities for policy improvement, system alignment, and strategic investments to strengthen equity access to housing opportunities and supportive services. Preserve affordability by safeguarding the affordability of existing housing communities through asset and portfolio management, reinvestment, and acquisitions. And finally, advancing equity by promoting equity and racial justice by addressing barriers that create and perpetuate disparities in housing opportunities. All right, and we will take some time in our breakout rooms to reflect on all of these priorities. Let's now take another pause and hear from you all. We will put the link in the chat, but also feel free to share your comments again in the chat. Valentina will put the links and questions in the chat. So let's please pause so folks have an opportunity to share. And the question we're reflecting on now is, how do we recommend we distribute resources for community interventions? Options are balancing funding across various intervention types from preventative to home ownership, prioritizing funding towards specific community needs first, such as chronic homelessness, and space for you to provide any other ideas on how we could distribute funding.
Yes, and we are getting folks' responses through. So I will share my screen real quick. Thank you. All right. How do we recommend distributing resources? It seems like we're, prioritizing specific community needs first is a little bit higher than balancing funds, but pretty close, pretty balanced. And there's also other ideas that maybe people have around distributing funding. Breaking down silos can make it hard to procure services for people who are serving to guarantee housing stability. Of course, reaching out for help around rent assistance. That is definitely what we hear a lot. Balance cost of intervention with impact. Yeah, appreciate that. Yes, direct cash transfer programs. COC to understand the real impact to the community we serve. Prevention, shelters, and rapid rehousing should be the priority. Appreciate the thoughts around that. Yes. Increasing income for case managers. Biggest gap, of course, are rent assistance programs. More funding for prevention. Yes. Hearing a lot of that. Long range support for some people, and tackle issues around needs in a meaningful way. Yes, self-sufficiency is something we have heard. Access centers. Upskilling participants. Yeah, the theme around self-sufficiency and sustainability, I think, is coming up a lot. Yep, great. Let's see if I'm going to stop sharing real quick and see if there's any of our Spanish folks. Pretty balanced. Yep, not much to report. It was 100% prioritizing a specific community. So yeah, those are the responses. Appreciate all that great information. It's very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for your participation. We have a couple of thoughts in the chat as well. I'll just quickly read it. Dina said, work with local nonprofit housing providers, each providing specific support services within the continuum. And Shell said, access to clean and sober homes as well as mental health services. Beautiful. Thank you, guys. So I think we're gonna pop into a 5-minute break, so we can get the breakout rooms prepared. Welcome back, everybody. Reminder to please make sure you're in the correct channel for your preferred language. I hope there were some meaningful discussions. Let's take this opportunity to share out. Can we, we're just gonna go down the list. So can we get breakout room 1 to share?
I think that was the main room.
Oh, we're still.
I can, yeah.
What was that room for? Oh, okay, that's the main room. Okay.
Yes, we can share out for the main room that we had expanding housing opportunity, which we had a really great conversation. A lot of things came up, which is great. Let me see, I'll just run down our notes here. Just gonna okay. Comments.
Want me to share the board?
No, I think I can read out loud if that's okay with folks. So there was a lot of talk around helping support with people sleeping outside with mental health issues and treatment, and obviously the lack of housing that came up. Better workforce training for folks in affordable housing. So thinking about folks who are doing the work, and making sure that they're adequately trained to support the folks that they're supporting. So there was that. Also, a big need for Spanish speaking like service providers and staff. There's a lot of burnout around Spanish speaking providers who are overtapped. It seems like it not only impacts housing and homeless, but also issues around legal services has been a big need for bilingual support. How are people being compensated who do have that skill set, and making sure that they are compensated equitably. Also dealing with citizenship challenges and getting documents can be a barrier to getting into stable housing. Like I said, more training to develop like bias awareness, trauma-informed practice, accountability to not create further harm. And then we talked a little bit about like livability. So it's really hard to direct people to a resource for like livability issues, like if a housing unit is in bad condition, or so I think that's obviously one thing around like preservation. Focus on how to support people before being evicted, and making sure that we prioritize long-term housing, not bounce around from like hotel to pods. And then we need more sustainable funding sources. So more of like the state level of like, how do we make a source of income or funding out, like have more sustainability for the programs rather than like a one-time funding. I would say that was what we talked about. I don't know if there's anything that I missed from our group, but I think that was most of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Breakout group number 2, whenever you're ready, you can share what you talked about.
I think that will be you, Hannah.
Yes, that is me. So a lot of the things that we kind of discussed about were, one of the questions was what's working well in our system right now. There's really great feedback around like collaborations, having a lot of expertise at the table, really being solution-based and taking feedback around like what's not working. I think, let's see, providers and housing navigators are easily able to help with accommodation letters. Another one, again, partnerships that there's so many people at the table, everyone's coming together to find solutions. With there being so many people at the table, different priorities, people still working together, keeping folks in housing. If there's a crisis, keeping it brief and rare. Prioritization population is youth, partnering with the chair of the Solutions Council, and being able to keep all the visions in mind. Let's see, another one is landlord property management relationships have helped offer more seamless transitions for some of our highest need folks, and that has been very beneficial. Another question was, what are the unmet barriers that you see in the community right now? Lacks of mental health services. Tenants that are facing eviction desperately need quick access to knowledgeable legal assistance so they can understand what their rights are and how to navigate the legal system. Navigating balance of power between themselves and property management, who is strong legal support and legal knowledge. People are saying that they're constantly seeing tenants in jeopardy of losing their homes. So another thing was accountability, housing first models versus low barrier access, getting people into services and keeping them engaged through program management. Lack of support after being housed. mental health and behavioral health supports are not available for those folks. And then there's not enough foster home placements for those with chronic mental health needs and risky behaviors. And so that's kind of lack of affordable housing, housing first with retention as second inequality, equally important priority. So a lot of the conversation kind of stuck to what, the barriers that are happening with mental health, people that are struggling with like moving into program management houses. And then in general, information for people to maintain their housing. And then in addition, housing for people with SO histories, that is a big barrier for a lot of people. And then need for a range of different ways for unhoused to become housed, low barrier and some high barrier, transitional recovery, et cetera.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Lots of good thoughts. Breakout group number 3.
I think Kim and I were breakout room number 3.
Okay.
Our topic was preventing and addressing homelessness. And so we had a lot of good conversation, some similarities to the other groups so far. Some people shared that, we have the resources now and we are working together. We're collaborating to even have the discussions around what's working and what's not. And we have a system that can be analyzed to find out what isn't working, unlike maybe some of our counterparts throughout the region. And then some people anticipating that the short-term solutions or community connect liaisons will have a large and great impact. We are promoting and informing the public of our successes, so that transparency piece through media. And then from the voices of lived experience, we're really hearing in the field that people are pleased that there are many agencies that are able to help them. They have more than 1 to 2 options for services, and it's not just a one-stop shop. And then there was quite a bit of feedback around great improvements at the county leadership level. So addressing any outreach or other needs, there's been responsiveness and flexibility for those that are living and coming off of the streets. And so they enjoy hearing from their direct service providers the good feedback, from team members on addressing any financial or contractual changes at the county level. For unmet needs, we still have a lot of limited resources for financial education, such as debt relief, financial literacy, and then how can we really look as a system to have that, I'm putting some of my own words into this context, but have the balance between providing supports like for utility assistance, for example, and not and helping to keep people accountable for their own self-sufficiency and betterment, not to continually pay participants bills over and over because they know that it's an option. There still are people with high needs, and there are still some lack of resources, like people with significant substance use disorders or mental health challenges. And then there are some concerns or challenges around the metro boundary and needing to serve individuals, especially in the outreach world, in rural communities. And so how do we grow rural housing and supports, supportive stability, brought in from that metro boundary? Community Connect isn't working well for everyone who needs to access it. Some of it has to do with barriers for participants, long stayers in shelter who maybe have high barriers and are staying beyond the allotted time frame. And it would be great to see the county, the Tri-County area mesh together so that vouchers could be moved across county lines, for instance. And when population A is referred to a program, the lack of access to phone or electricity or other needs to charge phones can delay services. So there's some service delays related to barriers still with individuals. For the allocation of resources, it would be great to decrease the 30% AMI contribution to 20% to really help and focus on that building financial stability. And then some talk and discussion around recognizing the affordability in this community for housing affordability, especially for low-income households. And if we put focus on one piece within the entire system, it may create an imbalance, and it could also kind of circle back. So need to be intentional on still diversifying resources, and finally focusing on healthy organizational longevity so that agencies can address the needs and move the needle as it changes, and be a voice, and so that the agencies can be a voice and prioritize where to make the changes to make sure that everything is sustainable long term. That's what we got.
Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, we will go to our final group. Whenever you're ready, break out group 4.
I think that's us.
Awesome.
So our overall theme was about preserving affordability in affordable housing. Our first question is, what would you recommend prioritizing as far as specific communities? We had one answer talking about the first priority for those who are literally homeless or about to become homeless. For the second priority to be homelessness prevention, and that the third is obtaining affordable housing properties and home ownership. Let's see. The next question was about what recommendations we have for a real estate strategy. One person added that they wanted to take care of the properties already obtained, and then add more properties. They also gave the suggestion of utilizing old buildings that could be used as shelter or divide rooms to offer more space and availability to individuals in need. In general, as far as unmet needs, there's still a lack of affordable housing overall, and even that affordable housing in our community is still a bit expensive. And there's also a lack of specific housing with supports for those with mental health or substance abuse, having programming in that housing. Right now, especially in a timely manner, right now there are 2 to 3 month wait lists that really don't work with like time limited housing subsidy programs. One person also said that the shelters are not always accessible. For walk-ins, they usually have very limited options, and shelters tend to be full. And there's also limited resources for those who are just getting sober. There's also accessibility issues for those who are incarcerated to access affordable housing. And another barrier is that for case managers, a lot of their energy, or pretty much all of their energy, is going towards housing navigation. So some of the other helpful interventions, like child supports, recovery, motivational interviewing, can't be used. And it seems like the caseloads are too high to focus on those kind of like stabilization interventions. And then overall, just trying to see a unmet need of aligning systems between recovery, behavioral health, and permanent housing so that they're parallel to each other and can work with each other and be more in sync. That's what we got.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. Lots of really good thoughts. Okay. So we appreciate all the great feedback and discussion that you shared. So what's going to happen next? Next slide, please. If someone could share the screen so we could see the slide. Does anyone have the slides up? Or I can.
I think it's coming up. Just a second.
Okay,
here.
okay, got it. Awesome. Great, thank you. So we would love to invite the broader community to our upcoming listening session, which will be in person on August 19th. It's in the evening from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Beaverton City Library. This session is for community members who care about housing and homelessness, especially those with lived experience, which includes those who have accessed housing and homeless services and programs within Washington County. Valentina will be sharing the link on the chat if you would like to share more about the event to folks you think you would be, if you would like to share more about the event to folks you think would be interested. Registration ends on August 14th. Folks can make interpretation, accommodation, and childcare requests. Next slide, please. Awesome. Okay. And we would love to hear your feedback through a feedback form that we are now going to be posting in the chat. We want to hear what went well and how we can improve for next time. In addition, we encourage you all to stay engaged with the Housing Advisory Committee and the Homeless Solutions Advisory Council. The monthly HAC and SC meetings are public and open to comment. You can find information about both of those advisory meeting schedules online. In addition, we encourage our community partners to continue or attend HSSN meetings to stay in the know and be involved with other folks doing housing and homeless services work in Washington County. Another link is going to be shared where you can find more information for HAC, Solutions Council, and HSSN. HAC and Solutions Council will be recruiting for new members in the fall. So if you'd like to stay updated, the link shared will have information regarding that. And finally, we want you to stay in the know about our future engagement opportunities and housing authority updates. So please sign up for our housing services newsletter. We will also make sure you receive all the information in a follow-up email. And once again, thank you for your participation. We really appreciate the hard work you do for our community and the lived experience, the insights, the knowledge, and your time that you shared with us today. We hope to continue building partnerships and collaboration with one another. And I hope that you have a great rest of your week.